Hello everyone and welcome back to Make Believe, where we're playing World and Economica. Now, last time was when we got rid of our unwanted guest, the debt collector, I believe it was, and actually protected our home and Hagana, which is a surprise for Yoshiharu, but good surprise. And now, when they went their separate ways, I believe, and let's see. And thus, when I heard a voice call out to me, I totally thought it was an hallucination. And let's see who's the voice. There aren't any flowers. Oh! When I turned around, I saw Hagana putting a vase on the table and arranging the flowers. Look at that. Well, that's a surprise from Hagana. The stark contrast between the white lily-like flowers and the pitch-black Hagana in just the position was remarkable. However, next to it were some poor flowers flattened by someone stepping on them. Probably the debt collector? I'm guessing. I guess that's what she meant. So what? Oh. Hello there. Get some for me. Oh, guess I'm now being the errand boy, huh? I was pretty much silent as I walked reflexively towards Hagana. If the following words hadn't popped out of her mouth, I would have probably walked right up to her and turned that graceful face of hers into tomato paste. Oh. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was going in a different direction. And they still call her face graceful. Let's point that out. Please. Well then, we're just zooming in. My feet stopped instantly, and I ended up staring steadily at Hagana. Rare for her to actually say please. She returned my stare in the same manner, and said, I ask you to help. Well, look at you guys, developing. Actually having some character growth somewhat. So, I should go do it as soon as possible, huh? Couldn't figure out what to say or how to say it. I had confidence in my thought process, but when interacting with these women, I got a strong message that my head wasn't quite screwed on right. Yeah, they're a different kind to you. I had given my word, and Hagana had, at least in appearance, asked me to do something. Having gotten nothing, not even a thanks in return, I replied bitterly. What kind of flower is it? Staring at me with emotionless eyes, as if saying that it's obvious what flower she was looking for. Hagana pointed her slender finger at the face. I don't know where those grow. Me neither. Thinking, what? I furrowed my eyebrow and was about to jab Hagana in the chin. Really always looking for violence option, huh? Violence not always the answer, Yoshiharu. It did help the debt collector somewhat. At least it made him calm down, because apparently their disagreement was going off, considering the mess that was the living room. So I'll admit that his violence action did help, but in the end what resolved it was his funds, I guess. I feel like there's a better word for that, but Thinking what? I furrowed my eyebrows and was about to jab Hagana in the chin, but Hagana's expression remained unchanged. But aren't you as nimble as a monkey? It should be more logical for you to search than me. Monk! Why did I have to follow her orders and even have to allow myself to be called a monkey? I wanted to yell at her, but Hagana paid no attention to me, spun her head around and looked at the vase again. And yep, we're back to the other image. Lisa grew these flowers. Would be a problem if there were less than 7. At that moment, my anger evaporated instantly. Her profile looks so pitiful. Yeah, look at that sad face. However, I quickly corrected my thinking and told myself this is just a show mimicking people with the XX chromosome. What? It's just a show mimicking people with the XX chromosome. What? What are you even saying, Yoshiharu? As long as you were born a pretty woman, no matter how rotten you are inside, you'd look like a beauty standing next to some flowers. I don't know. Like, there's some anime characters that with rotten personalities that no matter what they do or whether they are, they just not attractive at all. Well, as long as it was a real problem, I could just go and get some. Even though my reputations were unrelenting, I ended up running off with the Jack Village to find some flowers. Yeah, it's not for you guys. It's not for you, not for Hagana, it's for Lisa. The one that's letting you guys stay here for rent. Just cease fire between you two. Work together temporarily. Of course, searching around blindly would be something an idiotic Earth dog would do. I took my computer out of my backpack, booted it up, and took the picture of the flower with its camera. I then used an image search on the net and determined what type of flower it was. Furthermore, since doing something bizarre like growing stuff like flowers on the moon could only be due to curiosity, I entered the flower's name and the name of the area around here. Having done that, I found a picture uploaded by some bored and or curious person of the flower nearby, and alright, I located the whereabouts of this flower. Good job. I probably would have done something similar, but not nearly as far as he did, I guess. But yeah, it makes sense. Oddly, this post that came up had also something to do with the church. Oh look, isn't this just a cliff above us? A flower aficionado who lived nearby had written a post proudly proclaiming that he had taught Lisa how to grow flowers. Oh, I see. That's probably where the flowers are from, most likely. This was surely the garden on the cliff that I had seen when I left this place earlier today. And I certainly had the feeling I saw a peak of blooming flowers too. I turned towards Hagana, who was busy with the cleanup and had occasionally snuck glances at me, and rotated the display towards her. I guess they're blooming on the cliff above us. I see. I need 2 flowers. Don't mess up. It didn't seem like she had even an ounce of inclination to retrieve the flowers herself. Nope, she just asked you and not gonna even think about it. Having lost the will to get angry, I closed the computer and got up from the floor. Just lost the will to get angry. I hopped up to the 2nd floor and then onwards to the 3rd floor. I stuck something in the annoying auto-locking door to keep it open and went outside. From the lights on the door, I could tell it was almost time for evening mode to kick in. Oh, that's nice. The Earth appearance, usual location, show me its faint blue figure. Oh, so that's how it is. I guess this is the exit on the 3rd floor. This is pretty nice. Like, lovely. Lovely ambient. The Earth appeared in its usual location to show me its faint blue figure. I scanned the garden, which had a great view, and looked into it would be quite a nice place in which to hang out. And it looked like it would be quite a nice place to hang out. I did not know what I was even saying before. After looking around, I found the lilies growing in a flower bed, just like in the photo. When I approached it, 5 flowers fluttered in the light breeze. Since they were so fresh, young, and full of life, I paused, wondering if I should really uproot them. Oh, you're just gonna pick the flowers up from the... Just pluck them without asking anyone or anything, I see. Although I could not see any traces of 7 flowers having been uprooted before, there was no mistake the flowers Lisa had were originally picked from here. I pulled up 2, shook the dirt off them, and then carried them back down. When I got back, the living room had returned to normal, and Hagana was sitting at the table. She looked at the 2 lilies in my hand and frowned. What? You said two, didn't you? The roots are still attached. Yeah. I imagine they cut them to put in the vase, not just put them all with the roots and dirt in the vase. I took a deep breath and responded slowly. Well, you didn't say that you didn't want the roots. Just common sense, Yoshiharu. Come on. You can do better than that. I thought she'd just ignore that, but she stared at me for a bit and nodded in agreement. Like, not technically wrong. Disappointed, I handed this to Lily's Hagana. Hagana then grabbed a pair of scissors from the cupboard and started cutting up the flowers in the sink. Her firm movement gave the impression that she was quite experienced at this. Unfortunately, it was an appearance only. She was cutting them straight across the stem. You don't know how? I asked her quickly. How'd what? Here, let me see. Why? She furrowed her brows in surprise. Okay, the music's starting to get a little loud. But as I approached her and stretched out my hand, she handed me the scissors and the flowers. For this situation, you should cut it diagonal to the stem. It basically let the stem absorb water a lot more easily. Well, it didn't apply to everything, but it was a basic rule of thumb, as I had learned at home. Now, I imagined cutting them diagonally, but I had no idea why of that, so he knows better than me. I cut the two stems at an angle, and Hagana, who had been staring at my hands, looked up at me. Is that true? Probably. Like, I'm not a gardener. I don't know. I said that with a shrug. Hagana showed a bit of rare emotion in response to my vague response. A slight wrinkle appeared on her forehead, and she lowered her chin. Well, it appeared that Hagana wasn't good with this type of thing. Perhaps as a reaction to being stepped on all the time, I started flaunting my knowledge. So I take it you don't know that you're not supposed to store vegetables lying on their side? Store vegetables lying on their side? Vegetables? Their freshness will depend on whether you lay them on their side or stem them up. Hagana had a slightly startled face, as if she were saying, "That's impossible," when she stared at me. She then brought her lips back together quickly. Oh hey, it looked like she was kind of angry. My heart sank for joy, like, hey, look, emotion! I actually got her angry, huzzah! Come on, Yoshiharu, you're better than that. I think, hopefully. Looked like she thought that I was making fun of her. That's a lie, right? Why don't you test it out? I immediately returned with a retort. My dad once said that, just as human would weaken if put in a different environment, vegetable would also weaken if placed in a different orientation from when they were growing. Huh. The more you know. Therefore, there's a difference how well how well they kept. Yeah, I think I said it right. It looked like she was glaring at me, but eventually she turned around and looked at the flowers while speaking in an almost quiet whisper. I'll keep that in mind. I thought exhibiting oddly good behavior, but then her second line came out. Since I'll verify it someday. While still thinking cute couldn't really describe this woman, I did feel that this was the first time we were able to have a real conversation. True, the whole debt collector thing kinda brought you two to the same side. So that's a positive. Hagana retrieved the flowers from me without a word, and still without a word, placed them in the vase. That behavior made me sense a bit of humanity for her, and wonder if I didn't really have to have such prejudiced view. Yeah, you don't. Spoiler alert. If anything, if the flower lover Lisa had raised this flower. Okay, let me try again. If anything, if the flower lover Lisa had raised his flowers, she'd be distraught if she came to find some flowers missing. Hagana's consideration for Lisa in wanting to replenish the number of flowers, well, I'd have to say it was girly. I don't know if girly's the right word for this. Just kind and sympathetic, or empathetic. I kind of forgot which one's which. But yeah, girly would not be the first word that would come to mind. Anyways, I thought that would be really nice if some of that humanity could be directed towards me. But of course, I couldn't say that out loud. Well, you're also not helping your case, not showing much humanity towards her either. Actually, I felt defeated at the point when I thought of that and chased those thoughts out of my head. Because basically, you're both just putting fire in the flame, or like just fighting fire with fire. Neither of you are backing down, so it's just getting worse and worse, and getting harder to back down. I will say that Yoshiharu did try to help out, and Hagana did not even say thank you or anything. But yeah, Yoshiharu is also not being very kind most of the time. So basically, Yoshiharu made the most steps forward and backwards in the relationship. I ended up holding myself in the room I was renting and spent the time searching for money spinners. I felt kind of depressed, but rather than wasting time and money roaming Red Valley aimlessly, I figured I might as well actually spend some time doing things related to making some bucks. Even the ever-changing world economy news headlines were full of things that could determine movement of the markets tomorrow. If my rivals throughout the world were going to read these articles to plan for tomorrow's trades, then ignoring the news would give me a handicap for the battle ahead. To win the battle, I must do everything possible. Yes. Plan. Learn about the environment. Just get your battle plan ready. Your strategy. Driven by something like obsession, I poured through the news stories, but there were limits to my concentration and patience. I could concentrate on actual trading for hours on end, but I'd gradually lose focus while doing this sort of manual labor that was akin to warm-up exercises. However, I managed to look through everything. By that time, I started feeling a dull pain in the back of my eyes, and the light outside my own indicated it was evening already. Amongst the investors of the world, anecdotes abounded about... Oh my god. All those words together. Amongst the investors of the world, anecdotes abounded about people who started investing when they were 5 years old and had never missed a day reading the top 10 economy newspaper for decades. Wow, when they were 5 years old? Like, people are still learning basic stuff. Suddenly, I asked myself where I have been spending my days in such a way that I'd be able to fight with them on even footing. Right now, results had accompanied my trading. My seed money has grown. Recently, however, slump days of neither gain nor losses like yesterday had risen. If I broke even during actual trading, then I'd incur losses from the trading fees. Furthermore, my necessary living expenses added to those losses. Oh yeah, but now you have smaller living expenses for better living, right? It would be a lie to say that I wasn't uneasy. I was aware that if there were days when I incurred losses or did not perform that well, then I'd be inclined to needlessly feel depressed about it, especially on the evening of the day when markets are closed at the end of a week. For those kids who actually went to school, they'd have club activities or play around for the day. The advance of a new week, just like the previous, brought a sense of stability. However, I had no such luxury, since each new week would be an unpredictable week full of surprises. Yeah, every week's completely different. Back when I was in the village, I had dreamed of stimulating days like this every day, but the days when I held the opposite opinion had started to increase recently. This line of thought wasn't good, I felt. Feeling depressed brought nothing good. Going back to the village and attending school again was definitely impossible. Therefore, I needed to look forward and spend time constructively. Yes, be positive. I got up from the bed, and with my light headache spreading a frown across my face, I opened the computer again. Being able to do something about the tug of war being played on my funds would at least make me feel more relieved. With that in the back of my mind, I received one of the 3 scheduled emails of the day from a securities company. It was a mailing list service that sent information about shady investment trusts and shady investment opportunities, but occasionally interesting info came out of it, so I decided to peruse it. As always, while I was staring at the table of contents, my mouse cursor had already reached the trash bin. However, what caused my hand to twitch and click the touch mouse was not that the email was full of crap. The opposite, in fact. Among the meaningless junk, there stood out the rare something that had some value. An invitation to an investment contest? Oh, how does an investment contest work? I had heard of contests that invited people who excelled stock trading, but was surprised that they had invited me. Furthermore, the grand prize was 200,000 moles. My current net worth stood at 70,000 moles, so if I won, I'd increase my funds threefold. However, what drew me in the most wasn't that. Within the invitation for this contest was the following set of catchlines. Let's see. All eyes on Schrodinger Street are on this contest. In addition to the prize money, the winner might have the possibility of getting scouted. The winner last time, Mr. Tony Rudy, was recruited into Platinumsmith, and the winner of the first contest, Mr. Yan Suhu, ended up starting his own hedge fund. Oh, nice name, Sir Suhu. What lies in store for the winner this third time? It wasn't a bunch of cheap words intended to draw attention. No, it was a bunch of cheap words intended to draw attention. What happened to be attracted, I couldn't reject those words. The prize money was obviously important, but the possibility of being able to get a foot in the door of Schrodinger Street, that single phrase totally blew me away. Yeah, instead of collecting the funds, actually step into the starting line. Sure looks appetizing, for sure. To work in such a firm the proper way, I'd have to study my butt off to get into a top-tier university and graduate with top grades with a top-of-the-line major. Furthermore, I wouldn't just be competing with people from the moon. I'd also be competing with a selected few brilliant immigrants from Earth. Therefore, this was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. But, even briefly looking through my current situation, I could see grim reality in the way. If I could repeat my fantastic dash that I managed to do right after leaving home, this prize could definitely be my reach. However, right now, I felt like I was in a tunnel with no visible exit. I probably needed some different type of mythology from what I've been using up until now. While pondering that, I copied out the contents of the email and saved it, just in case. Okay. So, we're possibly going to the big leagues. At least a contest. I wasn't sure how much time had passed by, but I heard sounds signaling that Lisa had to come back. It had gotten quite dark outside, and I just realized I had been in my own world picking out stocks with the lights still off. I guess this was all I could really do, but I think my concentration level wasn't all that bad. My body made some crackling sounds as I stretched, and I headed for the living room while taking a break. Well, let's see what's the situation in the living room right now. At that instant, I smelled something delicious. I'm guessing dinner. My eyes turned unconsciously towards the kitchen. Makes sense. The food smell. Hagana was in the middle of setting some Chinese food on the table, while wondering about when they had time to cook. I noticed I had a large takeout basket under the table. Delivery. Lisa, who was taking out small serving plates from the cabinet, chuckled at my question. Leftovers. Well, it's part of the reason why I work there. Well, I don't mind. As someone who constantly paid and ate at the Lunar Chinese restaurant, I had mixed feeling about this, but I had no qualms with the price and the taste. I quickly took my place at the table, but Hagana, who was still taking out food from the basket, stared unequivocally at me. Why aren't you helping? Because you didn't ask. Yes, but come on. Courtesy. Common courtesy. I had lifted my hands up in a shrug to tease her, and she furrowed her brows. I was grinning smugly at my revenge for all the things she did to me when she delivered a surprise attack. How about? Normally in this situation, wasn't she just going to swallow those words silent in irritation? At least I had expected that she'd be all pissed off, look down, and ignore me while she continued with the preparations. It seemed that Lisa also had the same thought. I guess Hagana really was a tough customer. Well, thinking about that, I got even more daggers from Hagana's eye. They were saying, I asked you, so get to work now. Yep, you did say the condition was if she asked for help. So she asked for help, now you gotta do your part. I shrugged, got up from my chair, and set the plates and chopsticks I got from Lisa on the table. Lisa stared at two of us intently. She's seeing the progress you two have made while she was away. Well then, let's give our thanks to the Lord and Mr. Wang from the restaurant. Oh, that's a sweet one. Look at that, all three of them at the table eating together. All those Chinese foods. This is nice. With Lisa's word, dinner commenced. Basically, the food used plenty of ingredients that were on the verge of going bad, but there was pretty much no difference in taste. In fact, it was delicious. We polished off items that generally came in combo sets like twice cooked pork, bell pepper pork stir fry, and egg rolls. So what did you do? So what did you do all day? Lisa asked us, just as Hagana used her chopsticks to block me from taking a third shumai from a platter that originally held 6. Come on, Yoshiharu. There were 6. There are 3 of you. 2 for each, right? Come on. Before I could respond to Hagana's, don't you know division? Lisa used her own chopsticks to place a shumai each in Hagana's plate and mine. But then Lisa's just that nice person. Hagana and I both looked back at Lisa, telling her that it was her share, but Lisa replied with, we must share what we have, and a smile. Apparently it was read in the Bible or something. I shrugged and popped the shumai in my mouth. Hagana, who was more hesitant, ended up eating hers as well. Well, with that, I answered Lisa's questions honestly. Went to Newton City. Oh? And for what? She scoped the place out for a bank heist. Lisa broke into laughter, treating it as nonsense, but I was surprised that Hagana was totally shocked. Honestly, I'm surprised Lisa actually took it as intended. As a joke that was intended. Well, hey. It was funny. Duh, it's a joke. With my reply, Hagana's expression changed from one of surprise to one of irritation, and she looked down. She was, for some reason, a bit dense when it came to certain things. True. So, the real reason? I like those streets. That wasn't a lie. I munched on the salty pickled vegetables and then took a drink from my teacup. It's a bit too lively for me. It's that liveliness that brings out my drive. I jumped down half my third egg roll and then realized was Hagana staring at me. Oh, there were only 6 of them to begin with. Lisa noticed us and quickly put one on Hagana's plate. Come on, Yoshiharu. You took 3 of the other one and 3 of the egg rolls. Come on. You're very hungry today, aren't you? Just eating half of the plates when there are 3 of you. I heard that Hagana only had this kind of appetite when it came to Chinese food. And yet you're eating most of the food, so who's the one with the bigger appetite here? I don't know what you're doing with that drive, but in either case, that's pretty good. I became a little humble when faced with Lisa's smile. Can't really fight against it, huh? I was wondering if she was making fun of me, but she had the usual carefree smile. Come on, Yoshiharu. Not everyone's out there to get you. Well, since I did provide you shelter, I would obviously be happy if you rested up and did your best. Oh, really? It's kind of pointless if you don't put in the effort yourself. Hmm? Well, I guess. It's true. This is the moon, after all. There was no point being here if you didn't work hard. If you wanted to just cruise along leisurely, then you could have done it on Earth. That's great. This is the moon, after all. Lisa even mimicked my voice, causing me to choke on a piece of pork I had been eating. She was enjoying herself happily, but she was trouble in a different way from Hagana. Yeah, because he can't deal with Lisa. He just always reluctantly hesitates. Alright, then what about you, Hagana? What did you do today? Being perhaps satisfied with the usual teasing, Lisa had turned to Hagana and asked her what she did. I was also keenly interested in the reply. I wondered what she was doing all holed up in her room. She made no sound and occasionally got up to go to the bathroom. Hagana slowly finished her pepper pork stir fry as if she couldn't decide whether it was tasty or not, and then she replied unhurriedly, "The same as usual." It wasn't terribly blunt, but Lisa wasn't put off by it. And if Lisa knows what the usual is, then she already knows the answer, without Yoshiharu knowing. So you got up, ate your meal, and hung up the laundry to dry? And then returned to my room to work on problems. Problems? I touched myself. The whole time? I went to the bathroom once during the morning and continued to work on problems after getting back. So did you solve them? 8 of them were pretty quick, but 4 of them took relatively longer. I see. That's pretty rare. For 4 of them to be that difficult. Difficult? Well, I wouldn't say that, but... I think they were excellent problems. Hagana spoke with her eyes closed as if she were pondering the problems again. Lisa broke out in laughter seeing Hagana like this. You really do like them, don't you? Hagana opened her eyes and slowly turned towards Lisa. And then a small blush developed on her cheeks. Oh. Well, that's nice to see. Lisa was beaming with an unparalleled smile at Hagana's response. I kind of felt like I was watching a doting parent, but I couldn't say I couldn't understand a little of Lisa's feeling. I was also taken in by Hagana's reply, coupled with her rare show of embarrassment and her slight blush. Right? I couldn't help feeling a sense of defeat. Then again, she did look pretty decent if she kept quiet. Besides, given that she normally only showed me either a sour face or a face of disdain, I ended up rationalizing with no one in particular that I couldn't help it. Yeah, she only has a problem with you. And you have a problem with her, so it's kind of hard to find a middle ground there. So, what are we talking about? Bothered by my internal conflicts, I tried to distract myself by saying something. Besides, I really was curious. Oh, we're talking about math. Math? You don't even know math? Hagana stopped smiling and asked in response out of what appeared to be surprise instead of belittlement. I mean, depending on the kind of math he knows. As if I were being made fun of, I lowered my voice and replied, Of course I know. Haven't I mentioned it before? Hagana's very good at math. If it were just math, she'd be totally able to attend Lunar City University right now. Every year, elite students from all over Earth come to attend Lunar City University. Even I knew how difficult it must be to get into such a place. So, were you working on the entrance exams? She already finished those. Right now, what was it you were working on again? On page 424 of Lloyd F. Steele's Mathematical Theorems. She replied immediately while drinking her soup. Oh yeah, but you already 400 pages in? In terms of the history of math, it's still stuff from some several hundred years in the past. I had no clue what they were talking about. I didn't think Hagana would actually explain it to me, and I'd be annoyed if I had to ask. Thus, I turned my gaze towards Lisa. Lisa, being her perceptive self, explained to me with a smile. It's a digital copy I borrowed from the university of a classic book of mathematics. It's a bizarre book that has collected tons of mathematical theorems. 5,621 theorems. Hagana snuck in a word while obsessively trying to split a steam bun in half. We both turned to look at Hagana, then exchanged slight glances with each other. And so, she's trying to rederive proofs for all of these theorems. Rederive. For example, with the Pythagorean theory, you try to figure out on your own how to prove it. In other words, reconstructing the history of math built up over the past several millennia. Wow, very impressive. Wow. I think I said wow as well, Yoshiharu. Assuming it were true, I have no choice but to say awesome to that. I'd probably be able to even at least half forgive the way she looked down on me. In that case, why not just attend the university? With my super logical ignorance, Lisa and Hagana both looked at me with pity. What? Even if it's just one subject, totally ace it would give you a free pass in, right? It's not like there's age restrictions, right? There are no age limits, and tuition can be covered by a scholarship, but there is a problem, right? My mind was blank for a bit after Lisa's words, but eventually I got it. That's right, Hagana's a runaway. Yup, you probably need parents' permission. But limitations to parental legal guardians, etc. only apply until she becomes an adult. Life is long, so might as well take it easy in the meantime, right? Lisa smiled at Hagana, so until she becomes an adult, she's just practicing, studying, just collecting resources. So when she is able to be on her own, she has all the stuff she's gonna need. Hagana's nod at those words was filled with an aura of earnest. Seems that people have their reasons. I shrugged and drank some egg drop soup. So that's all you did today? What do you mean, all we did today? Well, for some reason, after I came back, it seemed that there's been some developments in how you treat each other. Yep, like I said, she noticed that you two not as angry at each other. The soup in my mouth was inches from being spilled out. What the heck was that supposed to be? It means you two aren't at each other's throat anymore. You're actually being cooperative sometimes. I kind of feel like something happened between you two that I don't know about. Would you care to fill me in? This woman sure loves to dig into details, even at the restaurant. This woman? Lisa asked back, full of smiles. However, those were certainly not smiles of happiness. I thought back to the last time I had stepped on this landmine. You sure love to dig into details. Yep. Well, it's kind of like a job to me. Woof. Wait, a job? Never heard of a strange job like that. Just an investigator. Undercover. Well, it's kind of a strange kind of like a job. My duty? Well, something like that. It's not like I like doing it, you know? She said that, but it had to be a hobby. Besides, she herself doesn't seem to be saying those words seriously. Wait, I'm getting sidetracked. Well, nothing really happened. Oh wait, when I got back from Newton City, when I got that far in my sentence, there was a racket under the table. I'm guessing Hagana kicked him or something like that. That was because I kicked up. And if you were to ask me why, it was because my opponent kicked my shins with all her might. Yep. Hagana's just like, shh, be quiet. Ow. What the hell are you? Oh my god. What the hell are you doing, Bit? It was so abrupt that an angry yell was the most I could muster. While Lisa's eyes were wide open and surprised, I was surprised too. I didn't strike back immediately, not because I thought Lisa would get angry, but because I had no idea what the heck was going on. Actually, we're gonna stop here. we'll see how this develops. If Lisa's gonna learn it, or if perhaps they're gonna be able to cover it up somehow. I don't know. And I have no idea which one I'm gonna pick for thumbnail. If it's the three of them eating together, or if it's Hagana with the flower. Tough to say. But with that being said, see you next time. Bye.